Hey, howdy. Well, it's been a second, but I'm back. You might have been able to tell from, me overtly mentioning it in the last video, but I was sick for a few days, and I could talk, but it would not have been very pleasant for me to record a video. So I waited a bit, and this is basically my sweet spot because tomorrow we have a rehearsal for the concert, and then Saturday is the concert, and then I don't know whether or not my voice is going to be completely shredded come Sunday. So I feel like today is the best day to do it. Also, we get a weekly to Azure Garden and a weekend to Pale Corridors. Jeez. Azure Garden's a mean one. I guess we start with the easier one, I suppose. But I guess now is a better time than ever to talk about theology. I went the complete wrong way. So, I was thinking about a certain phrase. The phrase of Memento Mori. And I was kind of just pondering not only what it means, but also kind of what it represents, and I realized that a lot of the modern representations of it are kind of just wrong. Wait, do I not have... I do have glasses. It's one of those, it's one of those sayings that is... people take it in kind of weird ways. Especially in different ways than how it was originally supposed to be. And I'm no Greek, I'm no Roman, I don't know the exact ways of how it was supposed to be interpreted, but I have a decent guess. So, for those who don't know the nitty-gritty with the term, Memento Mori means, it essentially, the literal phrasing of it is remember that you will die. Basically, remember that you are immortal. And it's a pretty impactful statement, especially for the Romans. Because when you're thinking about the Romans and you're thinking about the more the Romans than the Greeks, I guess. The interplay between humans and gods is much more apparent. Is there a connection to Pale Corridors? Did I just completely miss it? Ah, there is. Oh, wait, this is a different... I was thinking of a different area, right. This is the Castle Black. This is the other area that looks like Castle Black. Where does this connect up to? Just Mini Nexus, damn. I was thinking of the area that connects up with Monochrome. What's going on over there? But there's... I don't know how best to describe it. There's a very strange relationship between the humans and the gods in ancient Rome. There's this sense that things that are made by divine beings are just objectively better than things made by mortals because they were made by the gods. And whether it's something like a craft, or maybe a promise, or a war, or whatever it is, there's this running thing that if a god did it, it is going to be much more grand, more profound, more ridiculous than anything a mortal will normally do, with exceptions. Especially in myths, there are people who are just really, really good at certain things, to the point that they approach levels of divinity. But depending on who you ask, or depending on what situation that person is in, they might get killed because they're close to divinity. Like one of the perpetrators of the Seven Against Thieves was killed for that exact reason, which I gotta talk about at some point because the Seven Against Thieves is hilarious. In fact, screw it. At a certain point, I might just pull up the Wikipedia article and read through it because it's so fun. On my phone, of course. I'm still gonna be going to Azurgarden in the mainframe. But you have people like Pygmalion, who were just really, 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 really good at sculpting. And the gods were okay with it. They kind of just let him do his thing. And he was such a good sculptor that he pleaded to Venus to turn this statue of a woman into a real woman, and Venus was like, yeah, cool. But especially with the story of Prometheus and Icarus, there's this... What's the best way to describe it? More modern interpretations by more like Abrahamic religions, specifically Christianity, have changed the meaning of the story somewhat in the modern eye. Oops, that's my Discord. I gotta mute that. And I hope that thing doesn't attack me. Okay, we're good. Is this Rusty? This is Rusty, okay. But with stories like Prometheus and Icarus, I feel like at a certain point there was this sort of paradigm shift where instead of being read in the eyes of the Roman man, it was starting to be read in the eyes of the Christian man. Which the interpretations are pretty similar, but they have their differences. With the story of Prometheus, the primary reason why Prometheus was punished, it was because he had taken something that is expressly divine and given it to humans, giving them the power of creation when he shouldn't have. Because that was something that was meant only for the gods on Mount Olympus. And he was severely punished for it. But there's this sort of interpretation of it, especially after Frankenstein, that meddling with creation when you're not supposed to is not only wrong in a religious sense, but seen as an affront to nature even. It's like what you've done not only is theologically wrong, but also like unnatural. Now, this is kind of it's an interesting line of reasoning, because I feel like it comes from the Romantic era of literature, back in the day where there was this sort of clash. I forgot about the Shadow Lady there. There was this sort of clash between harmony and invention, between nature and man. And this was way before the Industrial Revolution, but if that thought process had stuck around to the Industrial era, it would have rung even truer. It would have rang rather. But there's this... Hang on, I gotta remember where the heck I'm going. Right, Azurgarden's here. Gotta go through teal, then blue box, yellow, red triangle. Okay, I see. But hang on, I might end up joining up with these folks. Uh, I absolutely hate what happened with my browser. It's all weird. When the group stops for a moment, I'll uncrop for just a second to show it off because it's awful. It's like Windows XP era nonsense. Once we get to Azergarden, I'll show it because it's just It's just the toolbar sticks out so much more now and it looks ugly. That is an era of the internet. I'm glad it's gone to a certain extent. As nostalgic as it is to think about that era, I'm happy that it is no longer in vogue to peddle toolbar extensions and stuff like that. Oop. Right, this area is really, really pretty. Everyone just like shuffles through in case someone wants to stop and look. Oh, this area is so cool. Oh, right, I forgot there was Lavender Waters music here. The orb. Ah! Right, now while I have a moment, let me turn off the filter for just a second. Look at this. Look at how much it sticks out. Look at that. Blah. Blah, 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 blah. Disgusting. Why is it like that? Okay, anyway. Gotta loop back around Socrates style to get to all my conversation topics. Prometheus. So, there's a sort of element to modern variants of the story that what he did was wrong because not only did he do something, he took something that should not have gone to the humans and gave it to the humans, but he also did something unnatural. Because as was the style of the time, things like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, there was this sort of narrative of harmony versus invention, nature versus industry. That the things that mankind makes are, by their very nature, going against natural things, going against the divine. Because the divine was equated with nature, which kind of makes sense. Things like the romanticizing of the tabula rasa also comes to mind. Just like a blank slate. Nothing has touched it. Nothing will probably ever touch it. And it's just this perfect blank slate where only nature has thrived. And, I mean, Icarus ends up falling along a very similar path. That the story of Icarus and Daedalus was that Daedalus escaped an island and brought his son along with him, made wings of wax, because Daedalus was a master inventor. And the two of them took to the skies in an attempt to escape. But Icarus, being a funny little child, despite the warnings of his father, if he went too high, the wax on the wings would melt and he would fall. If he was too low, the feathers would be wet by the ocean and he would sink. Icarus immediately started shooting up into the sky, as high as he could go. And Daedalus could do nothing but just watch him as Icarus grew higher and higher. And as he feared, the wax melted, and Icarus fell all the way down into the ocean and died. And this has also taken on more of a modern narrative. Because there's this sort of underlying narrative, even in the Roman sense, of, there's this underlying sense of trying to reach divinity and failing, because divinity is unattainable for a human. And it exists in both the Christian and the Roman tellings of the story, but I feel like it's amplified even more for the Christian telling. Now, back to the last, the lowest layer of my conversation, Memento Mori. The thing about Memento Mori is it's a very similar thing. Just remember, by the way, you're human. By the way, you're mortal. Don't get too confident, because you're still just a man. Or you're still just a woman. And there's this sort of weird understanding of the phrase sometimes that it's almost used to remember the dead. Like, some people put it through Google Translate or something and it comes out as basically remember the dead, rather than remember that you will die. So it's not necessarily... It's a way to dampen confidence. It is also it's also used to a certain extent to honor the dead, but maybe not in a sense of in the sense of a eulogy. More in a sense of remember, you're dead. See that person? Soon you will be just like them. But either way, I mentioned the 7 against Thebes earlier. Let me pull up that story and kibitz over it because it is so fun. So, The Seven Against Thebes, for those who weren't here when I was talking about Antigone, let me give a brief primer. There was the set of stories that all sort of revolved around the walled city of Thebes. If you've heard of Thebes, you've probably heard of it because of Oedipus Rex. Oedipus Rex is one of those many stories that talks about the city. As a recap, you got Oedipus Rex, Oedipus at Colonus, Antigone, you have the Bacchae, and you have the story of the Seven Against Thebes in the... what was the name of this story? Right, there was a tragedy called The Seven Against Thebes by Ashlycus. But the story goes is that there were 7 great warriors who were all spurred on to battle to try and take down the city of Thebes. And all of them were great warriors, that's for sure. But all 7 of them met very different, very comical, tragic deaths. Oh, oops. Let me see this. So, the 7 were Polynices, Tydeus, Amphiaraus, Capaneus, Parthenopaeus, Hippomedon, and either Adrastus or Eteoclus. Let me see if I can find their deaths, because that is the fun. That's the part that's actually kind of fun. Give me a moment. Right, okay. So, the first thing to note is Polynices and Eteocles. E-T-E-O-C-L-E-S. Eteocles? I don't know how to do Greek pronunciation sometimes. They were brothers, and they were both actually the sons of Oedipus. And in fact, the death of Polynices and him being left to rot outside of the city's walls is what spurs on the plot of Antigone. Because Antigone wants to give Polynices a proper burial, despite the fact that he was one of the ones that tried to wage war against Thebes. Let's see. So, like I said, they all died in very weird and comical ways. Capaneus is the first that's more humorous. As he was climbing the walls of Thebes, he basically had his hand on the stone and reached his other hand out and yelled, "I'm more powerful than Zeus!" And Zeus heard him. And depending on who you ask, either struck him with a lightning bolt or just let a rock fall from the top of the wall and knocked him off and killed him. Tydeus is another great one. He was mortally wounded by Menelaus, but because he was a patron of Athena, Athena wanted to make Tydeus immortal. But the seer Amphiaraus, knowing this and hating Tydeus, cut off Menelaus' head and gave it to Tydeus, who proceeded to eat the brains of his killer. As was Amphiaraus' intention, Athena was so appalled that she changed her mind and basically stared him dead in the eyes as she poured the elixir of immortality out onto the ground in front of him. Amphiaraus, after doing that, was chased off the battlefield and attempted to flee. And as he was trying to flee, Zeus, again, noticed that was happening and literally opened up the earth and caused it to swallow Amphiaraus, along with his chariot. And then Polynices and Eteocles met in single combat and famously killed each other at the exact same time by spear point. It's wacky. Like, it's Greek mythology. This is not the kind of mythology I expected to have a scene. Oh, by the way, this character eats the brains of someone else out of spite. It's such a kooky thing. Are they still around? They are still around. Oh, right, there's a vending machine in here, isn't there? I wonder... I think I know where that is. That's in Port City. Hang up, hang up, hang up. We might be able to get all three in one day. It depends on if I'm right here. Okay, it should be right here. Yeah, this is definitely it. Yeah! I was dead on. Hang on, let me get a picture of this. But yeah, sorry I'm a bit quieter than usual, but I usually have a game plan going into these, and I didn't this time. That's all I got. Thanks so much for watching.